But imagine you desperately want to work, you're well qualified, but the government won't allow you to get a job. Well, that's the situation faced by several thousand asylum seekers in the north. Now a campaign has been launched with the backing of the TUC to allow them to work if they've waited more than 6 months for a final decision on their asylum claim. The Tanya Shannon reports.
Life's a squeeze for many people at the moment, even more so if you're an asylum seeker like a Grin, who isn't allowed to work.
If I'm entitled to work, it's good for both sides, for us and for government as well, because I don't have to spend money on housing or pay the vouchers or money, things like that.
In 2002, the government made it illegal for people in his position to take paid jobs. He came here from Iraq 6.5 years ago and lives in Middlesbrough. He survives on £35 a week, not in cash, but in the form of a gift card, which you can only use in one supermarket chain, and not on everyday necessities.
You can't come to Sainsbury to cut your hair. It's impossible, and because you need the cash, and we don't have a cash for too many things.
A Green is involved in a campaign in the north supported by the Regional Refugee Forum and the Northern TUC to restore the right to work to asylum seekers.
As you all know, we are making progress on what we believe is the right thing to do, right to work for asylum seekers.
The government says that allowing asylum seekers to work would only encourage others to come here with unfounded claims. But those campaigning against the rules say asylum seekers aren't fleeing for economic reasons.
They're coming here because they're escaping a situation, often violent, a situation where they have no choice but to leave. So to say that there would be an economic pull factor, I don't think that's actually what will happen.
Many asylum seekers have skills and qualifications that are desperately needed here in the north. Take Gabriel Malamba, who came to Britain from the Democratic Republic of Congo 5.5 years ago to escape threats on his life. He's a highly qualified electrical engineer.
Teesside University Career Services, they're still sending me the offers there. They still need the people even for the placement, But I can't do those placements because I'm not yet allowed to work.
He still doesn't know what the outcome of his case will be and could be waiting for a further 3 years to find out. He believes the government is wasting its money on people like him when they could be supporting themselves.
It's like I'm not really a normal person. I'm not a normal person because a normal person have to have a work, a job which could help him to support himself and to contribute to the community and also to plan for the pensions. That's what I can't do at the moment personally. So it is very hard for me.
The government offers free accommodation, food vouchers and for people who are eligible, cash support of anything between £33 and £66 a week. It says this is enough to keep asylum seekers from destitution. But they say there's only one way they and the British economy will benefit.
I don't want to be getting the advantage on the taxpayer money, but I want to be one of the taxpayers contributing to the economy of this country, paying my rent, paying my council tax, doing what I can do and supporting myself, supporting my family. I've got some skills to give to the society, so why not? I shouldn't be given the right to work.
Thoughts of one asylum seeker in Middlesbrough there. Unfortunately, the Immigration Minister wouldn't give us an interview on this issue, but I am joined by Julian Pryor, who is chair of the Asylum Working Group for the Centre for Social Justice. That's an independent organisation looking at issues connected with poverty. And with me still, Conservative Tim Kirkup. Julian Pryor, you can only admire the sentiments of people like Gabrielle who want to work and pay their taxes, but isn't the government right? If you allow asylum seekers like him to work, you'll just get a flood of more coming, and some of them will be fraudulent.
I think this notion is simply not founded really on any of the evidence. Sure, there may be a small number, but any of the research that has been done about what choices people make about coming to the UK, they're generally about English language or links, colonial links, rather than any sort of detailed knowledge of our benefit system or opportunities to work. So they're essentially fleeing persecution and need to get somewhere where they can find some safety.
Tim Kirkup, Tories should be keen to support this. I think people want to go out there, work and pay their taxes.
No, I think the problem with it is that there's two things really. One is that first of all it is a cover for the government's inability to deal with asylum applications speedily and properly. Asylum applications are taking many, many months. We mentioned 6 months here, but they are in some cases taking literally 3, 4, 5 years. Now that's unacceptable because these things should be dealt with quickly. So doing it this way isn't the right approach from a government perspective. But the second point is that we should remember that an asylum seeker cannot, however much they may think their case is a good one, or others might think it, they can never be in the same category as those who achieve refugee status. An asylum seeker is literally someone who just turns up in your country, makes a claim about some kind of problems that they've had elsewhere, and hopes that you will give them a refugee status. I'm afraid, certainly when I was minister in this area, a very high proportion of applications never met the basic United Nations criteria for refugee status.
Julian Pryor, was that your experience? You seem to think differently.
Well, it's interesting because over the last 2 years, the largest independent commission has been looking at the whole asylum process, and it found that there was a culture of disbelief within the Home Office that led to some very perverse
ground-on
decisions.
experience, as Tim Kirkhope says.
Well, unfortunately, there are so many things that are stacked against the asylum seeker to have a fair trial. Now, we certainly agree with Tim in the sense that we need a rigorous decision-making process, and we would advocate for something like a Canadian system that has something free from political sort of interference and independent looking at the decisions, so that the whole nub of this issue is about getting the decision right first time, and as Tim says, speedily dealing with people's cases.
The problem is your timing couldn't be worse, isn't it? We've heard already today unemployment is going up. You're less likely to get a sympathetic hearing from people out there who are losing their jobs to help people like Gabrielle get into work.
Well, conversely, you could look at it from the point of view it's actually costing the government more. If people can work, they can actually earn money, they can contribute to
people
taxes
will say
and spend
that
more.
person's going to take a job that could be taken by someone who's British.
But again, the evidence doesn't bear that out. Most people, despite being very well qualified, as we saw on the film, are working very menial jobs, manual labour that UK citizens aren't prepared to do.
But we must make sure, actually, that we do not mix this up with the economic argument that we've had, or indeed immigration rules as a whole. This is a matter of somebody who has been their lives are threatened or their freedoms are threatened, and under the United Nations, if they can meet certain tight criteria, they should be given asylum. But there are too many people in the system, too many people in our country who will never meet those criteria.
Why not let them work and pay taxes rather than us supporting them?
Yes, because I think as the government, I think in this case, rightly says, that would actually be an enormous encouragement to people without a proper case just to turn up and be asylum seekers. Asylum seekers means they have no legal status, nor has their case been shown to be valid. That is the problem. Those who are granted refugee status are people we should look after and employ.
Thank you very much.